Good morning. Last class we discussed a lead acid battery. Lead acid battery is an example for the secondary battery. In this class we will discuss nickel cadmium cell or NICAD battery. This is also a secondary battery. Secondary battery means both reactions, both anodic reactions, cathodic reactions can be reversed by passing an electric current. That means rechargeable battery. Okay. Description. Nickel cadmium cell consists of a cadmium anode and a metal grid containing a paste of nickel oxide acting as a cathode. The electrolyte in this cell is KOH. The cell representation for this nickel cadmium cell is cadmium slash cadmium hydroxide double slash KOH slash NiO2 slash nickel. Left hand side represents anodic part, right hand side represents cathodic part. Both anodic and cathodic parts are separated by a double vertical line. That double vertical line represents the salt bridge. In this case, cadmium acts as a anode, nickel acts as a cathode. Then working. When the NICAD battery operates at the anode, cadmium is oxidized to cadmium 2 plus ions and insoluble cadmium hydroxide is formed. Initially cadmium is oxidized into Cd2 plus 2 electrons. This Cd2 plus ions again combined with hydroxide ions present in the electrolyte, that means KOH, to form cadmium hydroxide. It produces about 1.4 volt. At anodic part, cadmium, first reaction, liberation of the electrons. Second reaction, cadmium ions combined with the hydroxide ions to form cadmium hydroxide. Forward reactions represents the discharging process, that means working process. At the cathode, nickel dioxide is reduced into nickel ions which further combined with the hydroxide ions to form nickel hydroxide. So nickel oxide plus water molecule plus 2 electrons released from the anodic part combined to form first nickel 2 plus ions. Then nickel 2 plus ions again combined with the hydroxide ions from the electrolyte to form nickel hydroxide. So overall reaction, cadmium plus nickel oxide plus water molecule during the discharging process, cadmium hydroxide and nickel hydroxide formed. So in this case, potassium hydroxide density fall down. From the above cell reaction, it is clear that there is no formation of the gaseous products. The products cadmium hydroxide and nickel hydroxide adhere well to the surfaces. This can be reconverted by recharging the cell. So this type of battery need recharging for reconverting the cadmium hydroxide and nickel hydroxide as nickel and cadmium. So recharging the battery. The recharging process is similar to lead acid battery. That means when the current is passed in the opposite direction, the electrode reaction gets reversed. As a result, cadmium gets deposited the anode and nickel oxide deposited on the cathodic part. The net reaction, cadmium hydroxide plus nickel hydroxide plus energy during the charging process. Charging process means reconverted from cadmium hydroxide into cadmium, nickel hydroxide into nickel oxide. So cadmium hydroxide plus nickel hydroxide plus energy during the charging process, it is converted into cadmium plus nickel oxide plus 2 water molecule. Then advantages of nickel cadmium battery, it is a smaller size because in this case of the lead acid battery, we are using 3 anodes and 3 cathodes, but in the case of the nickel cadmium battery, only 1 anode and cathodes are used. So smaller in size, automatically lightweight. It has a longer life than lead storage cell. Compared to lead acid battery, the storage, long life, then like a dry cell, it can be packed in a sealed container. So disadvantages, it is more expensive than lead acid battery because potassium hydroxide, cadmium, nickel all are very expensive chemicals. So automatically recharging process and discharging process and a large amount of the hydroxide ions is used. So it is more expensive than lead acid battery. In this case of the lead acid battery, only sulfuric acid is used. Sulfuric acid is less expensive compared to the potassium hydroxide. And then uses of the nickel cadmium battery. Nickel cadmium battery is used in the calculators. In some of the scientific calculators, NICAD battery, nickel cadmium battery is shortly known as NICAD battery. So it is used in the scientific calculators. Then electronic flash units, electronic lights then transistors and hardless appliances. In the above mentioned specifications, locations, nickel cadmium batteries are used. Thank you.